raise the money, how they can raise the capital. We go into the details of the decisions that the financial manager has to make. So today we go into the investment decisions, and later on we will cover the financial decision in the second part of this course. So in this lecture, we will go into the details how the manager will do the capital budgeting and how they can evaluate the project based on several methods: net present value, payback period, discount payback period, internal rate of return, profitability index, and we go into the details what are the advantages and disadvantages of each method, and what method will be the most common method will be used in reality. So the second part called the capital budgeting and investment criteria. So first we go into the definition of the capital assets and capital budgeting. So what are the capital assets and what is the capital budgeting? So the assets, there will be two kinds of assets. One will be the capital assets or the physical assets, and the other one will be the financial assets. The financial assets will be like the stock, the bonds, or the investment in the index. Otherwise, the capital assets or the physical assets will refer to those like the assets such as home, car, or can invest in stock or bonds. In general, the capital assets will include both physical assets and the financial assets. And the capital assets, though you invest in those assets and you will get back some returns. And the capital assets you will invest is more than a year, must be longer than a year. And when you invest in those assets, it is not for the daily activities of the company for the operation. That will be not resales for the cost of operation. For example, if the company buy let's say a computer, they buy a computer and they use the computer for the daily operation of the company, so the computer will be the capital assets. But if the company, they buy the computer and use the computer as a product to resell, like Phong Vũ, they will buy the computer from Intel and resell the computer to you. So the computer of Phong Vũ is not the capital assets, it's like the normal product the company buy and resells later. But for the normal company, or like for our university, we buy the computer to use for the daily operation, to run the business, not for resale. So the computer for the university is a capital asset. So you need to, even though it's also the same things, but in different contexts, they are not the capital assets. You need to clarify, is it the capital asset or not? And when the company, they make the decision that they will invest in that capital assets or not, this is called the capital budgeting. This is the process to make the decision whether to invest in the capital asset or not. So first, the capital assets can be both the physical assets and financial assets. They can be stock, bond, they can be physical assets like computer, cars, building, plant, factory. But keep in mind that they need to invest in that, buy those assets and not resell for the daily operation. And this must be the long-term assets, last more than a year. So let's say you are the company, you can invest, you can buy the bond and stock and you keep it as investment. But if the company like funds, those funds, they buy the stock, the bonds, and then they resell it. So the stock and the bonds of the funds will not be capital assets, but for yourself, you buy it to investment. So this is the capital assets. So now you can clarify it. You can differentiate between the capital assets and those for the merchandise, right? And the capital budgeting will be the process to make the decision, to analyze the project, to analyze the capital assets, to make the decision whether I should invest in those capital assets or not. And the capital budgeting the process, or they evaluate the project, and those projects must be last longer than a year. Okay. So, and there are many steps to make the decision whether you should invest in the project or not. So the first one, we need to estimate the cash flow, both the cash inflow and the cash outflow that the project will bring to you. The second step that you need to assess the riskiness of the project, of the cash flow. So how risky that the project will, you think that the project will bring to you, and determine the appropriate cost of capital. So this step will determine how much capital will raised by debt and how much capital will raised by the equity, and in total how much they will cost the company. And next we will find the net present value, the internal rate of return. This is the way to evaluate, to make the decisions. And the last one, you need to make the decision whether you accept or you reject the decision. So this is the flow and the step to dealing with the capital budgeting to evaluate the project. But we will not going from top down, but we're going from bottom up. So today we're going to know how we can make the decisions first. So the first we are assuming that all information are provided. So how you can make the decision? Basing on what criteria, investment criteria, to make the decision, you accept or you reject the project. So we go bottom up. So today we're going to the last two steps, find the net present value, the internal rate of return, and other investment criteria to make the decision whether you accept or you reject the decision, and what are the advantages and disadvantages of each method. And the first three steps we will learn in the next several lectures. So in the second part of this course, we just go into 5 steps for making a decision for the project, the capital budgeting. So now let's go into the lecture today, more details about the last 2 steps, how we can make the decision based on those information provided for the project. So first we need to know how many kinds of projects that we have to dealing with. So in general, there will be 3 kinds of projects that you have to dealing whenever you're looking at. So the first types will be the independent projects. So the independent projects, the name said, there are 2 projects and they are independent to each other. This means that when you accept or you reject one project, the other project will not be affected. Okay, so for example, so let's say that you want to invest in open a bookstore, and then you want to invest to open the coffee shop. So they are 2 independent to each other. So now when you evaluate the bookstore and then you evaluate the project of the coffee shop, now you make the decision that you will open only the bookstore. So the decision of the coffee shop does not affected by the decision after opening the bookstore. They are totally independent, and you will choose to invest in, you can invest in both of them. If you have enough money, you can invest in both of them. And if both of them will bring you the profits, you will invest in both, and the decision of one will not affect the decision of the other. Okay, Okay, so next is the second one will be more complicated than the first one, independent. The second one called the mutual exclusive project. So now if you have two projects, both of them brings you the profit. Both of them brings you the profit. They can get you or make the profit to you. But now because of the financial constraint, for example, you don't have enough money to invest in both of them. You have to choose only one. So only one project can be accepted. And the acceptance, if you accept one project, you cannot invest in the other. Because, for example, of the financial constraint, you don't have enough money to invest in both projects. So you have to choose to invest in one and reject the other. So for example, now your company, you just have 50,000. So the budget of a company, they just have 50,000 US dollar. It is your budget. Now you have 3 projects to invest it in. The first one costs you 40,000. The second one also costs you 40,000. And the last one costs you 10,000. So now you just have 50,000 US dollar to invest it in. So for example, we are assuming that these 3 projects will bring you the profit later on. So now you have to choose which project you have to invest. So the project A and the project B, both of them cost you 40,000 US dollar. So you cannot invest in both of them, right? Right? You don't have enough money to invest in both A and B. So A and B will be the mutual exclusive projects because you only can choose either one. If you choose A, you have to reject B, and if you choose B, you have to reject A. Only one project can be accepted, and the acceptance of one project will cause the rejection of the others, right? You can choose either A or B. So how about C? 100% that you can choose C, right? Because if you choose A, 40,000, you still have 10,000 left, and you can choose C. So C will be independent project with A and B. Because if you accept A or B, I don't care. 100% that you will choose C. So A and B are mutual exclusive project, while C, when we look at C, A and B, C will be independent compared to A and B. Because the acceptance of A and B will not affect the acceptance of C. Because either you choose A or B, you will choose C, right? And because you still have money to choose C. So A and B are mutual exclusive project, while C is the independent project. Okay, and the last one will be the contingency project. The contingency project means that if you want to accept one project, you need to look into the other project. The acceptance or rejection of one project will depend on the decision of the other projects. So for example, you want to open the pharmacy. So if you open the pharmacy, your decision will depend on whether the hospital will open near the location that you want to open the pharmacy, right? Otherwise, they cannot make you the profit as much as you want. So the decision of open a pharmacy will depend on the decision of the open the hospital. They will build a hospital or not. So what the decision of one project will depend on the decision of the other project called the contingency projects. So in general, there will be three kinds of projects: independent projects, mutual exclusive projects, and the contingent projects. So why do we need to know about this kind of projects? Because depending on each project we are dealing with, we will have the different investment criteria to looking at, and we will make the different decisions. So, like in this example, if three of them are independent and three of them bring us the profit, so we will choose three of them, right? But now, because of the financial constraint, we cannot choose all of them. So we need to make the decision whether we accept A or B or we accept C. And the next one, we will discuss about the cash flow. And there will be two kinds of cash flow, which the first one called the conventional cash flow and the second one called the unconventional cash flow. So the conventional cash flow project means that the cash flow of the project change size only one time. So what does the change size only one time? So for example, you invest in the project for let's say 5 years. So at first, when you invest in the project, this is your cash outflow, right? You need to put the money in the project. You invest the money in the project. So first, this is your cash outflow. Let's say you have to invest $5 million US. So this is the minus side, right? Your cash outflow. Then like 1 year later, when you run the project, like for example, you build the factory. 1 year later, the factory going to operation. You run the factory, and the factory brings you the money, right? They have the profit. Let's say 1 million for the first year. Then second year, they also have the profit because you don't have to invest anything in the factory anymore. So they bring you 5 million, and up to year 5, let's say 10 million each year. So now you can see that the cash flow change size only once, right? First you invest the money, later on you get the cash inflow, the buildings or the factories, your projects bring you the money back. So this is called the conventional cash flow. The other example is that you borrow the money, right? For example, you borrow the money from the banks. As already like in the first part of this course, we will know that you can borrow the money from the bank. Let's say 10 million US each year. 10 million US each year for 5 years, and in the next 5 years, each year you have to pay them, let's say 2.5 million US. So when you borrow the money, the bank will send you the money, right? So this is your cash inflow. And in the next 5 years, each year you have to pay them, let's say 2.5 million US. So this is your cash outflow, right? Again, this is the case of borrowing. When you borrow the money, the bank will send you the money first. And today, right, when you go into the bank and borrow the money, the bank will send you the money. So from your point of view, this is your cash inflow. And then in the next 5 years, each year you have to pay them the principal and the interest, let's say 2.5 million US. So when you pay them the principal and the interest, so this is your cash outflow. So now the cash flow change the sign from plus to minus. So this is also called the conventional cash flow. They can change from negative to positive, or they can change from positive to negative only one time. So we call it the conventional cash flow. And the second type is the unconventional cash flow project. So in the unconventional cash flow project, the size of the cash flow will change more than 1, 2 or more. Now, if they change more than 1, 2 or more, we call it the unconventional cash flow. So how can they change more than once? So for example, you build a factory, let's say also 5 million US dollar. So in the first year, you also can get it back the money, 1 million US dollar. But now, in the second year also brings you back 5 million US dollar. But now, at the year 3, because of the technology change, you need to update the technology, you need to upgrade the factory to meet the requirement of the customer, for example. Now, your profit cannot cover the investment, so you need to put more money. So let's say now you need to invest 1 million US dollar more. So now can you see that the cash flow change sign 2 times already? From minus to plus 1 time, and from plus to minus 2 times. Second, twice. And then from year 3, year 4, and year 5 now, you can getting the money back. 10 million for example, and 5 million for example. Now they change sign the third times. So in this case, we call it the unconventional cash flow. When the size of the cash flow change more than 2. So let's go into the practice. So we have 5 cash flow on the slide. So please help me to determine which one is the conventional and which one is unconventional cash flow. So there's 5 cash flow on the screen. So which ones are conventional and which one is unconventional? So the first one, is it conventional or unconventional? So obviously, exchange signs only one track, so this is the conventional cash flow. So how about the second one? So they change from the cash outflow to the cash inflow and keep it for 4 years. And then at the year 4 to the year 5, they change from the cash inflow to the cash outflow. This can be that you need to put more money to close out the project. So they change sign twice. So this is the unconventional cash flow. So how about the third one? How about the third one? This is the conventional. So the cash outflow for the first 2 years, and then the cash inflow for the last 3 years. So this is they change signs only one time. So this is the conventional cash flow. How about the fourth one? The fourth one also the conventional cash flow, right? The cash inflow for the first 2 years and the cash outflow for the last 3 years. They change signs only once in year 2 to year 3. So this is the conventional cash flow. And the last one will be the unconventional, right? They change sign 1, 2, 3, and 4 times. Totally 4 times. So this is the unconventional cash flow. From cash outflow to inflow, from inflow to outflow, outflow to inflow, and inflow to outflow. So in total will be 4 times for this case. So this is the unconventional. More than 1 times already the unconventional. So this is the preliminary to know how many kinds of project and how many kinds of cash flow, what as the capital assets. So now we go into the first method to evaluate the project to make the decision whether we accept or we reject the project. So the first method we will discuss will be the net present value methods. The net present value, this is like what we already learned in the first part, the present value, but now we're going more, we evaluate, bring it to more a little bit complicated than the first ones. So we know that the value of the assets will basing on the future cash flow, right? It's either the project or it's either the stock or the bonds. Like when you evaluate the stock or the bonds, you also determine basing on the future cash flow, right? Do you remember that? When you evaluate the stock and you evaluate the bonds, you also basing on the future cash flow that the stock or the bond bring to you, right? This is the value of the stock or the value of the bonds. So, but for the assets, when they all similar to the stock or the bond, this will determine basing on the future cash flow that the asset will bring to you. For example, when you build a factory or you build a office building, and then you rent the office building, and they will pay you the rental fee every month or every year, right? So the rental fee will be the cash inflow that the buildings bring to you, and the value of the building will basing on the future cash flow that the building can bring to you. And in the stock or in the bonds evaluation, the price of the stock or the bonds you're willing to pay must be equal to the value of the stock or the bond, right? But for the capital assets, sometimes the price of the assets will be equal to the value of the assets, but sometimes it is not. The price of the assets you have to pay will higher or lower than the value that of the assets can bring to you. So that's why you have to make the decision that whether I should buy that asset or whether I should invest in that asset or not. If the price of the asset equal to the value of the asset, so you will be break even, right? You will be break even. You cannot make any profit, right? This will be no profit between the price of the assets and the value of the assets. But in the case that you pay less than the value of the assets, so you will make the decision that I will buy that assets, right? Because the assets can bring me the profits. And if the price of the asset is higher than the value of the assets, you will reject that assets because I will making a loss when I buy those assets. So the net present value method will basing on that principle. We will determine the value of the assets and we will compare it with the price or compare it with the initial investment that we have to use to buy those assets. Clear? So again, it's similar to the stock and the bonds, right? You evaluate the stock and the bond, the value of the stock and the bond basing on the future cash flow that the stock and the bond brings to you. And the capital assets similar to those. The capital assets, they can generate the profit, they generate the cash for you in the future, the cash flow for you in the future. And the value of those capital assets will basing on the value of the future cash flow. You will also can determine the value of those assets basing on the future cash flow. And the value of capital assets the price to buy those capital assets can be higher or lower or equal to the value of those assets bring to you. So if the price of those assets equal to the value of those assets, you will be break even. You cannot make any profit or any loss. So you can choose either to invest or not depending on your choice. But if the price of assets is lower than the value of the assets, so means that you make the profit, right? You pay less than what they can bring to you. So you can make the profit. So you will accept those assets. And if the price of those assets is higher than the value that it can bring to you, you will making a loss. So you will not buy or you will not invest in those assets. So this is the principle of the net present value method. So how we can deal with that? We will go into more detail later. So now let's go into the example. So for now, let's say we go into the principle is that you will make the decisions based on the return and the cost. So if the return is higher than the cost, you will accept the project. And if the return is lower than the cost, you will reject the project. So let's say you invest in the factory or the office building. So now you want to build the office building, and then let's say you can own it for 5 years. So in order to build the office building, it costs you $1 million. And then after 1 year, the office building already built and it's ready to put into the operations. You can rent it, and each year, let's say, for the first year, because this is new, you cannot have 100% of the floor occupied, so you just getting back $0.3 million. Then in the second year, they will bring you 2 million. The third year, 2.1 million. And the fourth year, let's say, because it's old and you have to upgrade it, so that you need more money, so it's just 0.5 million and then 1 million for the year 5. So now, in order to have $1 million to invest in the office building, you need to borrow the money from the bank. And let's say the interest rate 10%. So, if this is your project, will you invest? So what is your total return and what is your cost? You need to make the comparison, right? So as I said to you that the value of the office building will based on the future cash flow that the office building bring to you. And the future cash flow will starting from the year 1 to year 5, right? This is the future cash flow that the office building can bring to you. Each year $0.8 million, 2 million, 2.1, 0.5, and $1 million for the next 5 years. So first you need to determine the value of the office building, and then you compare with your initial investment, your cost $1 million to see which one is higher. Right? So what is the value of the office building? Can you determine the value of the office building? Is it the sum of these 5 cash flow? Is it the sum of these 5 cash flow? No, absolutely not. You're right. Because the cash flow occurs at different timelines. So we cannot simply combine it, but we need to find the present value of each cash flow, right? And sum it up. So the value of the assets will be the sum of the present value of future cash flow. So we need to find the present value of this cash flow and then sum it up. And we will use the 10% as the discount rate. And to compare with $1 million and your upfront cost to see the return is higher or the return is lower than the cost. Okay, so what is the value of the office building? Okay, so how much is the value of the office building? Four.
5.8.
Sorry, how much?
5.8.
5.8. So, the value of the office building will be the present value of the future cash flow, right? So you will take the 0.8 discount by 1 plus r to the power 1 plus 2, 1 plus r to the power 2 plus 2.1, 1 plus r to the power 3, then 0.5, 1 plus r to the power 4, and 1 over 1 plus r to the power 5. Right? And your discount rate R here will be 10%. This is what you borrowing the money from the banks. So how much is that? $4.9 US, right? So this is the value of the office building. And when we compare the value of the office building, the value that this is your total return that the office building can bring to you, and 1 million here is the cost, right? This is the cost is lower than the value of the office building, so you will invest, right? So when we're doing that, this means we are dealing with the net present value of the project. So the net present value is the differences between the value of the assets and the value of the investments, the cost. And if the differences between the value of the value of the assets and your investments greater than 0, you will accept the project. And if the differences between the value of assets and your initial investment is lower than 0, we will reject the project. So the net present value will be equal to the present value of future cash flow minus for the initial investment. And if this figure greater than 0, we will accept the project, and if it's less than 0, we will reject the project. Okay, the interest rate R here will be the project risk, and we will learn how to determine the risk later on, because we go in the bottom up. So we just go every information are provided to us. We just know the way to evaluate it first, and later on we will know how to determine each element in the methods. Okay, so the net present value will be equal to the present value of the future cash flow minus the initial investment or initial cost. And keep in mind that we're just dealing with the cash flow only. We're not dealing with something not cash. Okay? And now from now the cash flow will be provided to you, but later on in the next 2 lectures, we need to know how we can determine the cash flow. Okay, so let's do the first example. accept the project with the initial investment $1,100, and this will be last for 2 years for this project. And this project will bring you the revenue 1,000 for the first year, and with the expense $500. And for the second year, the revenue will be 2,000 and the expense will be $1,000. We are assuming that all revenue and expense are cash basic. As I said to you, we just dealing with cash, though non-cash will be excluded. So they need to assume that the revenue and the expense are cash basic, and the required rate of return is 10%. So will you accept the project or will you reject the project? So what will be your decision? Will you invest in that project? So now, you knowing the power of the timeline, right? You need to drawing out the timeline. You need to drawing out the timeline. So how many years that the project will last? 2 years only, right? So from now, in order to run the project, you need to invest $1,100, right? So this is your cash outflow, $1,100. So in the first year, they will bring you $1,000 as the revenue, and with the cost $500. And for the second year, so they will bring you $2,000 as revenue with $1,000 cost. So for the first year, what is your cash? Is it $1,000? No, this is just the revenue. You need to subtract for the cost to bring you back the profits, right? So your profits will be $500. And similar for the second year, the profit, your cash will be $1,000. So now you have the cash flow for the project. Initial investment $1,100. For the first year, $500, and for the second year, $1,000. So now with the interest rate 10%, will you accept the project? Will you invest into the project? So in order to make the decision, you need to find the value of the project, right? This is based on the future cash flow that the project brings to you. So this will be equal, you need to discount it back to the present to see how much it will worth today. How much the future cash flow of the project worth today. So you will take $500 divided by 1 plus R, and $1,000 divided by 1 plus R to the power 2. And then sum this up and compare with $1,100 to see whether you make the profit or you lose the money. So if we sum the future cash flow up, we see that it's higher than $1,100, right? Because it's nearly $1,300, more than $1,300. So that will make you the profit $181 as net present value. The net present value means the differences between your present value of the future cash flow and the initial cost. This is your initial cost. So the net present value equal to $181, which is greater than 0. So you will accept the project. go into the MVP rule, the rules to assess the project. So if you have 2 or 3 or 4 projects, that they are independent. So now if just one project, that's simple, right? If just one project, you will accept if it is higher than 0. If the net present value is positive. If the return is higher than the cost. But now, for example, if you have 2, 3 or 4 projects, how can you make the decision? So now, for example, you have project A brings you the net present value, let's say 5 millions. Project B, the net present value equal to 4 millions. C, net present value equal to, let's say, 1 million. And D, the net present value equal to minus 1 million. So if we just have one project, that's simple, right? We will reject D. 100% that we will reject D because it's less than 0, right? So now, how about the other A, B, and C? How can we make the decision? Which project to accept? So now we need to think about what kind of project they are. So if they are independent projects, so we can accept all of them, right? Because A, B, and C, all 3 of them are net present value is higher than 0, and 3 of them will bring us the profit. Now, if they are independent projects, means that the decision of one project will not affect the others, and we have enough money to accept them all. So we will accept all the projects that have the net present value is greater than 0. And we will reject if they are less than 0, if they are independent projects. But now, how about A, B, and C are mutual exclusive project, means that you can accept only one project. We cannot accept all of them, even though both 3 of them will bring us the profit. Have the net present value positive net present value. But now we just able to accept one of them. We cannot accept all. So how can we make the decision? We will choose the highest net present value because that project will bring us the highest profit. So we will choose A because A brings us the highest net present value, $5 million compared to B and C. D, 100% sure that we will reject it because it's making a loss for the company and the net present value is less than 0. So now, before making the decision, you need to clarify that is it the independent project, are they independent project or are they mutual exclusive project? If they are mutual exclusive project, we will choose the higher net present value. And if they are independent project, we will choose all positive net present value. Okay? So that's why we need to know about independent project and mutual exclusive project. So now let's go into this example. Okay, so now the government is planning to extend the shipping facility at the Hải Phòng port. And they have 2 options. The first option, they will build a jetty. The jetty means is cầu cảng. So they have to choose either to build a jetty or to build a new port. So they build so 2 options. The first one, build a new port. They don't have to build a jetty. So they just build a jetty, they will not upgrading the port. So they have 2 options. So here is the cash flow. Here are the cash flow of 2 options. So if you invest in the jetty, it just costs you $1 million. But if you want to build a new port, they cost you $3 million. And the cash flow of 2 options later on for the next 3 years. And so first, is it the independent project or it is the mutual exclusive project? They say that because of the environmental decision consideration, they can just only choose one among two. So this is a mutual exclusive project. And now, to make the decision which option you should invest it in, so you need to find the net present value of each project, the jetty and the pot, and choose the highest net present value. So now, take some time to do it by yourself first before I correct it. With the required rate of return is 8% for both of them, and they are mutual exclusive project. Which option you should invest in? Option 1, build a jetty, or option 2, build a pot? So which one will you choose? Option 1 or option 2? So you have two options. They are mutual exclusive to each other. So you can able to choose one only. So for the first option, the jetty, they cost you $1 million US. In the first year, they bring you $500,000. In the second year, they bring you 0.7 million, and the third year, 0.8 million. While in the past, they require 3 million upfront, and they bring you 1.3 million for the next 3 years. So, we cannot accept both of them. We need to find the net present value for each option, and we will choose the highest one. So the net present value, or this means that we will compare to what they bring to us and what we have to pay today. So we need to find the value, the present value of the future cash flow and compare to the initial investment to see which one brings us the highest profit. So for the chatty, we will discount each cash flow back to the present at the 8%, right? Interest rate 8%. And for the second option, this is the pot. You can see it, this is the ordinary annuities, right? This is the ordinary annuities. You can apply the ordinary annuities to find the present value of the future cash flow and compare with the 3 million upfront. And we will compare the net present value to each other and see that if we building the pot, it will bring us more benefits, more profits than if we build if we build the chatties, it will bring us more benefits than if we build a pot. So we will accept the first options. Because they are mutual exclusive projects, we cannot accept both of them. So we will choose the highest net present value. So now, if in the case that we can accept both of them, we can build both chatty and pot. So we will accept both of them because the net present value is greater than 0. So, but in this case, because this is the mutual exclusive project, we need to accept the highest net present value. So, is it any problem with the net present value? Do you think that is there any problem with the net present value? So, the advantages with knowing that they're dealing with cash, right? They're dealing with the present value. We will knowing that exactly how much money will be the profit of us today. So they have a lot of advantage. So is there any problem? Is there any disadvantage? Is there any disadvantage? So now, we just dealing, up to this point, we just dealing with mutual exclusive project that they have the same lifetime. So what if they have the different lifetime? So for example, if you building the chatty, this just lasts for 3 years. But now if you're building the pot, it is not 3 years anymore. The pot must be last longer, right? 10 years, 5 years, or 10 years. So how can we compare today to each other? This is the problem of the net present value. So the problem of net present value, first, the companies have to face with the capital reasoning, the capital rationing. This means that they don't have enough money to accept all of the positive net present value project. They need to choose. So that's why we have the mutual exclusive project. We have to choose the higher net present value. So based on the financial constraint of the company, we will range the project and then we choose up to the point that we cannot afford anymore. So the second problem that the net present value had to use is the mutual exclusive project, but now they don't have the same lifetime to each other. They have a different lifetime. So for example, if you invest in the heating, one will cost you 20,000 US dollar and the other just cost you 9,000 US dollar. But one lasts for 15 years and the other lasts for 7 years. So how can we make the decision? We cannot simply find the net present value, even though, for example, the net present value of the medium heating system is higher than superior. But now, they just last for 7 years. After 7 years, what should you do? You need to invest in another system, right? So we cannot simply basing on the net present value to dealing with the mutual exclusive project with different lifetime. So how can we dealing with that? example, if we take this as an example, so now the first one costs you 20,000 and lasts for 15 years, and the others just last for 7 years and cost you just 9,000. Okay, so after 7 years, you need to take a new. After 7 years, you have to take the new. Sorry, what's the new system? You need to build a new system, right? Again, because it just lasts for 7 years. Then you have to buy the new system for the next 7 years. So they will cost you again 9,000 US dollar. Now, in order to make that, and also the last year for 15 years, you have to buy another one. So, in order to doing that, we have to make it at the same lifetime to compare. We cannot compare with a different lifetime. So we will expand the shorter project that makes them equal to the longer project, and then at that moment we will compare the net present value to each other. Okay? So you need to expand the cash flow of the shorter project to equal to the longer project and find the net present value of two projects and compare to each other and choose the highest net present value. So this is the first way to dealing with the different lifetime. The second way, they will not expand, because if you expand, you need to find the new cost, right? Sometimes it will not cost you as same as today 9,000. It can be 10,000, 11,000, because it's 8 years, 7 years later. I'm not sure how much the system will cost me 8 years later. Okay, so we can make the assumptions, but sometimes the assumption is not correct. So we will make the wrong decision. So they will do the other ways. They will keep the same 7 years. They will find the net present value for 15 years and 7 years here. And so let's say they will find the cash flow, the annuity cash flow each year that each project can bring to them, and they will compare the C to each other. Which project brings just the highest C will be accepted. Okay? They will not expand. In the second way, they will not expand, but they will find the net present value of each project based on the real lifetime of each project, and then they will find the annuity, the cash flow that each year each project can bring to them, equivalent. So, and they will compare the C to each other, and C here will call it the annual equivalent annuity. Equivalent annual annuity. The EAA, the equivalent annual annuities, and they will compare C to each other, and they will choose the highest C, the highest profit that each year they can bring to the company. So let's go into the example to be more clarified. So for example, we have two machines A and B. The machine A will cost you $3,000 US today and $1,000 US every year for the next 4 years. And the machine B will cost you $6,000 US today and $1,200 US for the next 8 years. And the required rate of return for both projects is 10%. And if the machine wears out, means that the machine out of order, we cannot use it anymore, the company will replace with a new one. And we are assuming that both projects will bring us the same profit, the same cash. So which machine the company should choose? So now, two machines have the two different lifetime, right? So in order to compare to each other, we have to expand the lifetime of the short-term machine that equal to the longer one. So the machine A just lasts for 4 years. And then at the beginning, they cost the company $3,000 US, and then in the next 4 years will be $1,000 US. And the other will last for 8 years. And the first they cost you 6,000 and 1.2 thousand later. Okay, now they just care about the cost first, and they say that both the project will bring you the same benefits. Okay? So compare A and B, we will choose the one that costs us less, right? We will not choose the one costs us more. We need to choose the one that has the less cost compared to each other. And because they have two different lifetimes, so we need to expand the A up to equal to B, 8 years. So this means that we will find the equivalent, right? We will find the equivalent of A and B and then compare to each other. So the first step, we need to find the net present value of both projects. And then the second step is that we will find the equivalence. Anyway. Okay, the net present value for A. So this is the annuities, right? Ordinary annuities first for the first year. Sorry, for the first options. This is the ordinary annuities. So you can find the net present value, right? So we will minus 3,000 plus 1,000 divided by RT is 8%. Multiply with 1 over 1 plus R. Okay, sorry, 10%. One plus R to the power 4 minus 1, right? Sorry, 1 minus 1 plus R to the power 4. And similar for the machine B, you will take 6 minus 6,000. This is your initial cost. Oh, sorry, minus because this is the cash outflow. 1,200 divided by 10% multiplied with 1 minus 1 plus 10% to the power 8. Okay, so you can find the net present value for A and B. So here they are minus sign, negative. But because we are dealing with the cost, we are not dealing with the cash inflow anymore, so we will choose those have the lowest cost. Okay? So we will come up with the net present of A is minus 6,170 and the net present value of B will be 12,402 US dollar. So we will not reject it. Even though we said that the net present value must be positive, right? But now we are dealing with the cost. So the cost must be minus 1. We are not talking about the cash inflow, the benefits, the profits. We're just caring about the cost first. We will choose the machine that brings us the least cost because they are assuming that the profits, the benefits of both machines are the same. So we just care about the cost first. And now we cannot compare these two to each other. We cannot say that we will choose A because A brings us the less cost compared to B. Because A just lasts for 4 years and B lasts for 8 years. So now we need to find the equivalence, the annual equivalence of. So this means that we have to find C, the each year how much does it cost the company. And when we find C, we will take this is your present value, right? You should take the present value divided by this factor to find your new C. So the new C is for the machine 8. So for the machine 8 is minus 1,946 US dollar. So even though you invest in A, it's just lasts for 4 years. So you will, if you buy another machine, lasts for 4 years. So each year they will cost you just 1,948 for the next 4 years. So what does that mean? That means now if the machines wear out, now you have to replace the machine 8. And the machine 8 in the next 4 years, each year they just cost you 1,946. And for the machine B, they will stay up to 8 years, but each year they will cost you 2,325 US dollar. So that means the machine B will cost you more than the machine A. Even though the machine A just lasts for 4 years, after 4 years you will buy a new machine A, and this still costs you just 1,946 US dollar each year compared to the machine B. So we will choose the machine A, not B. Okay, again. So now you find C, right? You know exactly how much each year the company had to pay, right? But now the machine A just lasts for 4 years. So after 4 years, you need to buy the new machine A, right? To last for 8 years is similar to the machine B. Then each year later, it will just cost you 1,946 US dollar because you buy the same machine A as today, and each year they will cost you the same as the machine A today. So you will choose the machine A, not B. Even though the B can last for 8 years, but they will cost you more each year compared to A. Even though A just lasts for 4 years, and after 4 years, you will replace the A with a new machine, similar machine, and it's not cost you as much as A. Okay, so we still have 2 other exercise practice for the different lifetime of the project. So you can take the 10 minutes and 7-minute breaks, and during the break you can do the exercise, and after the break I will correct the exercise for you.